Hi, I'm Trin Johnson and welcome to Dust in My Eye. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. And if you'd like to see more of my videos, please hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to be notified of all my future videos, please hit that cute little bell. Today we're going to be painting these fun lollipop flowers for a shadow box. It's a pretty easy technique with a lot of forgiveness for mistakes and drips and baubles. It would work with a very simple palette, or you can get a little more complicated, which we're going to do today just for funsies. I apologize for the dust bunnies. It's really hard to get a good clean shot of this. This is the paper we're going to be using today. It's a Yupo medium. We're going to be gluing this to the fabric background in the shadow box, so a stiffer paper is required. This is the Costco photo paper, which we're going to use for the cutouts that are in front of the background. It's a little stiffer than the medium Yupo, and remember we're going to paint on the back side of it, the non-glossy side, because if you paint on the glossy side, the ink just doesn't move the same. These are the inks we're going to be using today: Ranger's New Color Moss, Copic, Verdigris, Ranger's New Color Glacier, a really pretty blue color, Pool, also a Ranger ink, and Boysenberry, a new color of Ranger's also. I use these little plastic trays to put the inks in, and I'm using these little droppers so I can get a smaller amount than I would be able to get straight out of the bottle. A couple cheaper paintbrushes, nice flat one and a fluffy one. Couple of containers for my 91% isopropyl alcohol and a nice needle-pointed bottle so I can get a small amount out of that too, of isopropyl alcohol. And a couple pairs of Fisker scissors. You need a sharp pair of little scissors that you can do detail work with. And a makeup sponge. I use makeup sponges all the time. They work really well with the inks. This is really important. I always spray my alcohol ink pieces with Camar varnish. It keeps the ink from moving. 2 light coats followed by 2 light coats of UV resistant clear to help keep the ink from fading. These are mini adhesive dots. They're sticky on both sides. We'll be using them to keep the relief part of our painting raised from the background. I got these at the dollar store. They also have them on Amazon. This is the shadow box frame I used. It's from Michaels. You could probably use any shadow box frame though. Now on to the painting. I cut a piece of paper slightly bigger than the size I needed in the end, so I had some wiggle room. That way I could decide on the final composition when I was further along, and I could see where I wanted to trim it. Now I'm working on the background. I've got my makeup sponge and I'm applying the moss to my makeup sponge. I run the sponge across the paper. I don't like it when it sticks, so I re-ink a lot. So I'm going to speed this part up a bit because I do take a fair amount of time getting the background right. Now I'm going to start with Glacier and drop my flowers in. Just kind of a random placement. I don't want them to spread a lot. I'm using them pretty straight out of the bottle. But if they touch each other, it's really not a big deal for this painting. That's kind of what makes it fun, is how the ink just kind of has a mind of its own. Now I thought I was done, but I counted how many flowers I had and realized I was going to end up with an even number. And I didn't want an even number in the background, so I went ahead and put another one in. I'm letting these dry, and then I'm going to come in with the alcohol and just put a drop in the middle and let it do its thing. Just to lighten up the middle and get some interest. Again, I'm going to let that dry. And then I'm going to work with the pool and the little dropper because I wanted a little more control. And I'm going to get about a little drop in each of them of the pool. Just a little bit of a turquoisey kind of color. Not quite getting enough, so I need to put some more in. I generally reuse these plastic containers, the little palettes, over and over again, and just find one that has a similar color to what I want to work with and pull that out. I have quite a stack of them from the dollar store. Now I'm going to put a little drop of alcohol in again for interest and lighten it up a little bit. And I've gone to the Boysenberry. Going to do the same thing I did with the pool, only maybe slightly less. Got these little plastic droppers on Amazon. They came in a box of a bazillion. They were pretty cheap, I think. I will try and have links on the bottom of the video. And back to the alcohol, a little drop just to make it blurry and pretty in the middle. You can see that I dropped some little splatters of, I believe it was the pool on the background, but it's not a big deal because I'm going to splatter with pool and with the Boysenberry and with plain alcohol. So it's pretty forgiving that way. And I thought it just needed a little more alcohol in those two. And now it's onto the stems of the flower where I'm using the Verdigris for that. Same kind of method with the droppers, because I can't get very much control out of the refill inks. They're just too big of an opening, so that I am going to use a dropper for also. I call these my drippy flowers. Well, these are the drippy stems of the drippy flowers, not quite the drippy flowers. That's another method. Another video. What's fun about these is the stems are nice and fat, so when we do the part that stands out in the front, we have a substantial stem. We don't have these little skinny things. Now I'm going to just run a little bit along the bottom because I like having a little dirt for my trees, flowers, whatever you want to call them, to sit in. And then just to get a little bit more interesting, I'm going to run some alcohol down them. A little bit along the bottom. I like to take a brush and give it a little swipe of a highlight on one side, just for funsies. And now we're on to splattering with the Boysenberry first. It's a very dark color, so it's easy to get a little carried away. I may have gotten a little carried away, but it's very forgiving. So I'm going to take a pencil and I'm just gonna smack it. I would suggest you have a nice surface that will absorb the extra spatters so you don't end up with spatters everywhere, like your cell phone or your coffee cup. I've done that. And now I'm going to go just some alcohol and get some interesting light spots. Have to switch to a new jar because that one's quite pink. And it's just fun. And now I'm going to use a little bit of the pool because of the spatter that I had done at the beginning, just to make it fit in. I don't do a lot of this one, but just get some in there. Like I said, it's easy to get carried away with the spatters, so to each his own. Now there we have it. The bottom layer is done. And on to the top. Again, I'm going to start with the moss. And I'm basically going to do the same thing I just did, because I want the moss in the background because it influenced the colors of the ink on top of it. If you're asking yourself why I'm bothering to do that part, because I'm going to cut it all off. If I didn't have that color underneath in the first place, the inks wouldn't look the same, and the Lollipop Flowers would be slightly different colors. And I'm also doing more than I know I'm going to use, because this way I can pick and choose which one fits my composition better when I get further along. But I've sped this up because basically I'm doing this exact same thing I did before. Now there, I didn't quite like the shape of them, so I played with them a little bit to give them a little more interesting shape. Otherwise it looked like I had a bunch of pickles. And same thing on this side. I'm doing just a bunch of random lollipops, and we'll see which ones I want. I could have put the green behind these also, but they're a little brighter without it, so it's kind of fun to have the ones in front be a little brighter. And see how the one has moved into the other one? I've looked at that and thought I'm not going to use that one, so I didn't bother to give it a center. They're all getting spattered so that that's similar and kind of fun with all the 3 different kinds of spatter. And there's my 2 pieces. And I'm going to spray them with my Kamar and my UV clear before I go any farther. It's much easier to spray them before you cut them out than it is after you cut them out, because when you spray them after you cut them out, they tend to blow away. Now I'm going to just cut out a couple of them for you. I try to stay kind of where the shape is, but I don't worry about all the little bitsy pieces, because that would be just really difficult. You are welcome to do that if that's what you want. When you're cutting out, one thing you don't really think about unless you cut out a lot, you don't always have to go in the same direction. Sometimes it's way easier to come in from the other side to get a little piece out or get a better angle. Cut out a lot of paper dolls at one point in my life. So I'm going to run through this one, and then I'm going to cut out one of the stems using my other Fisker scissors, which for this project I think those worked a little bit better. So we're going to try this one, and I'm going to cut out one of the stems. But I will cut out all of them just in case I want to use them, because I'm not really sure which ones are going to make the final cut yet. And sometimes I cut out the little bubbles that are hooked to them, and sometimes I cut around them and cut them out, left them off. Sometimes I cut around them and leave them on. Kind of depended on how it was hooked to the stem. So, magic of television, they're all done. And now I'm going to put it on my background. Sorry for the little bit of cat fur on there. We have a fair number of cats living in our house right now. I'm just laying out all my pieces, trying to figure out which ones I want to use, where I might put them. Which stems I liked. Switched that one. I'm going to just cut off a little bit. I have about an extra ½ an inch from what I need it to be. I've decided to cut it off on the left side, so I'm going to give that a chop. This magnetic cutting board and magnetic ruler work really nicely. And now I've kind of got to decide exactly where I'm putting the flowers. Oops, switched a stem. I'm going to trim a little bit off the top because it was too big for the paper. Remember, we were trimming both directions. And now I'm going to stick down the flowers. I found it was easier to peel the top off the little sticky dot before I removed it from the sheet. Just with these ones anyway. You can, with these ones anyway, pull them off and re-stick them, so you can move them around a little bit. Now I'm placing my stems, and I'm going to trim off the bottom of them. I trimmed them flush because I was thinking they needed to be flush, and then when I put it in the frame I realized that the stems actually had to be dropped down about 1/8 of an inch so that they would hit the bottom of the frame, which is where I wanted them. So I'm sticking them down flush right now, but I do end up moving them down. You could go crazy with this and do multiple layers of flowers or trees and just double up on your sticky dots, or if you have thicker sticky dots, that would raise them more. That would be kind of a fun thing to do. There, all done. You can see how they're raised up from the sheet. Now we're going to glue it to the back of the shadow box. I was using a clear gel tacky glue. You could use regular tacky glue. It sticks pretty well. Now I'm going to replace the stems in the correct position. You can see that they're about 1/8 of an inch down. This way they rest on the frame nicely. Now you can see what I'm talking about. To adjust them a little bit, and they're down at the bottom, resting on the edge. And there you have it. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I hope you make your own shadow box painting. I think you'd have fun. I know I did. Please visit my Etsy shop, where I have prints of many of my paintings, along with my monsters and my pendants. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.